Okay, so last part of genetics are stem cells. You might have heard of them in the news before. You're going to learn all about them. So what are stem cells? So to understand what stem cells are, we have to do just a really quick review of what cells are. So remember, there's 37 trillion cells in the human body, and somehow they all have the exact same DNA, but they look and function totally differently. So a muscle cell, a nerve cell, a blood cell, a sperm cell, a skin cell, they look totally different and they have totally different jobs. So how can that be? How can they have the same DNA but be totally different? And the answer to that is, if you remember from before, only every cell only uses like certain parts of the DNA. So like a skin cell maybe uses this, and this gene, where a liver cell uses this and this gene. A fat cell turns on this, and this gene, and a brain cell turns on this, and this gene. And we can use that to identify them. We can say, okay, what's this unknown cell? Well, it looks like it has the same genes turned on as the fat cell, so this unknown cell must be a fat cell. All right. So cells, it's important that you know, turn on or use different parts of your DNA, different genes in your DNA. So what is a stem cell then? A stem cell is a cell that has not yet done that. Like it hasn't used different genes in the DNA to become and look like one of these things. It's what we call undifferentiated. It's basically like a blank cell that has not become anything yet. Okay, so stem cell is like this cell. I think it's called stem cell because it could like stem into any type of cell. So how could that be useful? How could a stem cell be useful to us? It's an unprogrammed cell. It's a cell that hasn't become anything yet. How could that be useful to us? Well, we could make it become anything we want if we can figure out how. It's an unassigned, undifferentiated cell. It's like a blank cell, and you could make it be a muscle cell, or make it be a blood cell, or make it be a nerve cell. You could turn it into a cardiac, a heart cell. I can't tell what that says, liver cells maybe, or intestinal cells. So if you have like this blank cell, if you can figure out how to program it, you can make it into whatever you need. So if you have someone who needs a liver transplant, maybe instead of finding a match, a person who can donate their liver to that person, maybe you just take some stem cells and you make a liver. You program those blank, undifferentiated cells to be what you need. In that case, you need liver cells, so you would program them, these blank cells, to become liver cells. Okay, so stem cells can be made into whatever we need if we can figure out how. So let's look at some examples of how that's actually already been done. So the first example of stem cells being used to fight disease is in bone marrow transplants. People with leukemia, which is the cancer that you it's like one of the only cancers that little kids commonly get, so that's why it's usually a sad one. Adults can get it too, but it messes up their bone marrow. So they need a donor, and it's really difficult. My friend did it in college for a woman he didn't even know because he was a match, and it was really painful. It took him like a few weeks to recover from getting his bone marrow sucked out of his bones to donate to this lady. And it's still like sore to this day for him. So instead of having to like go in with this huge needle into someone's bone, a donor's bone, suck out their bone marrow and give it to this poor little kid with leukemia, if you could grow bone marrow using stem cells, that is one way that leukemia has been treated. And there is a little video there if you want to learn more about that. A big one that one of the first things to have been treated with stem cells, and it was actually done around here. There's a company in Albany that has treated macular degeneration, so like vision loss. It's hard to like maybe cure a cancer that's all over the body, but if you could just fix the cells in the eyes that are degenerating. That is something that we've been successful yet with. So NSCI in Albany invented a stem cell treatment for macular degeneration. This is what it looks like if you have macular degeneration. So this is what you see if you have normal vision. Then you start to lose it, and it's actually like gets blurry right in the middle of your field of view. And then you start to like totally lose the middle of your field of view. So pretty unpleasant disease to have. You're losing your vision. So what they did was they trained stem cells to be eye cells, and they put them in there. And they were actually able to cure some people who were losing their vision. One interesting thing when I actually visited this place in SCI in Albany, they talked about like when you have to test all these drugs or all these therapies in animals. And so they test it in rats. And how do you tell if you fix a rat's vision? Do you say like, okay, rat, cover up one eye and I want you to read this chart, FPLT, whatever. So obviously you can't give like a rat like a verbal vision test. So right here, it actually shows how they gave rats that test. And what they do is they show a rat this striped wall and they start to move the striped wall. And if the rat can like follow it, then they know that it's able to see. So pretty clever how they come up with ways to test animals. While we're talking about testing rats, I know it can be mean, but this video down here is actually like pretty funny. It's testing 3 different drugs on mice. So I think one is rats on cocaine, rats on marijuana, and then a control rat with just like saline solution, just like basically salty water. And it is pretty funny. What they do is they give the rat a little test, like he has to hit this lever every time he wants food. So when you think about it, how do you tell if like you cured brain problems in a rat? You give them a task to do and you see if they can do it better or worse. So you kind of forget when scientists are testing things on animals to see if they have like improved brain function or memory or whatever you want to test. They actually train the rats to do a little task, like either a maze or hit a lever, and then they give them the drug, and then they see how that affects their performance. So it's kind of interesting. You don't think about that side of the animal testing. Okay, so as you can see, there's a lot of uses for stem cells, and the next video is just going to be like all examples of uses of stem cells. But just to remind you, the way it works is a stem cell is a cell that hasn't been given its job yet. It's just like this blob. And the great thing about that is you can program it to be whatever you need it to be. You can program it to be eye cells or bone marrow or whatever the problem is.